the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, we can start with Steve, please.
Steve Kovac,
Debbie Sherman.
Mike Houston,
Kelly Capella. Stephanie Miller.
Joseph Mansovich.
And,
Mike.
I'm sorry, oh, and Nicole, yes, Levine McGrath online. I have to, maybe I should open that up so I can see it.
Can I do a motion on that?
Yeah, please.
Motion to approve the September 28th, 2021 Special Board of Education meeting minutes.
Second.
I want to think, maybe it doesn't matter. I didn't vote on the very first motion, you guys corrected. I think it was September 14th. Because I was a little bit tardy.
Okay, so just make that change.
Yeah.
And any further discussion? And that was seconded by Mike or Steve. Is there
I'm
any?
sorry, so what was your?
Okay, so I believe it was the September 14th minutes. And when the
Oh, the June
Yeah.
8th one? For
um,
the June.
when there was a vote to correct the minutes, when Stephanie Miller was the chair, but she was also absent, there was a vote to correct that. And I didn't vote aye because I was.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it may not matter, but just.
Any further changes on the September 28th meeting? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Now, Rob, do you see me trying to get into the Zoom meeting?
Yes, here you are.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Audience of citizens, would anyone like to speak? Wonderful. Any board correspondence?
We have none.
Okay. And information items. So we are thrilled to have some art representation. So Ms. Aldridge and your students, would you like to come forward? And Dr. Miller is going to.
And let me introduce her.
Sure.
for a moment. So I feel it's very important that the board and the public have a good sense and a good understanding of what we do in the classroom. So last meeting, we had an opportunity to showcase students in science. And I think that we need to make this a part of our regular activity at the board level is to introduce student work at the beginning of each meeting and rotate across the schools and across the disciplines. And I know that in the past, we've had an opportunity to have both our meetings at high school. And if you ever walk through the high school Auditorium, there's always beautiful student artwork in display there. We don't have that same experience here at the Board of Ed level. And I would love to see a permanent display here at the board of our student work and rotating that work across the various months during the year. So I had a chance to talk to Pam, and we thought tonight would be a great idea to introduce that, have showcase student here, talk a little bit about their work, and have this as our kickstart of student artwork at the board level. We've got Michaela Waldrop and we've got Ashley Dillon, both representing students both from Art 1, Digital, Broad Honors, and AP Art. So I want to thank you both for being here tonight. And I'd like to give the two good opportunity. There's a microphone over there. Talk a little bit about your art, what's there, and if you want to just take a few minutes to go over and see it, you can, then we can continue with the agenda.
Sure.
And I'd love to at some point before we're letting you first.
Yeah.
So welcome.
My name is Michaela Waldrop. I'm a senior at Oxford High School, and throughout my 4 years, or going on 4 years here, I've definitely learned a lot from the art program because it has like literally so much to offer. Whether it be like my confidence level in general going up, or just my skill as an artist, I've learned so much here. Because I think it's mainly because of also the environment that we learn in. It's like a very accepting place. There's not really like a right or wrong thing to do. And I think that gives kids a lot of creativity to do like what they want and try out new things. And Miss Aldridge and Miss Campbell are always like, trying to get us to do use new mediums and do different forms of art. And I've tried a lot of things that I would never have tried here if it wasn't for like drawing, a home drawing with a fork and ink, which is very difficult, but I learned a lot from it. And I think in general, we learn, like every single day I'm learning something new here. If it's not, just that, it's just, everyone's very, very nice and everything, like I said. I've taken a lot of the classes here and I've had just a really great experience learning and trying everything.
So there's a piece of artwork from here.
Oh, yeah, I have the one in the top right-hand corner up there. And right now I'm doing my art concentration for AP about my fear of losing teeth. So it kind of also helps, like, you know, get some of the stress out from my fears and stuff like that and kind of express that more, which is really nice. So,
Definitely see that in that.
yeah. Thank you. So,
Nice job.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice, thank you.
I'm also a senior at Oxford High. I've taken more than enough art classes, which I still have more to go, which I'm taking this year. But overall, honestly, our art program is one of the best things that I could have gotten involved in. And it's taught me so much. It's taught me life skills as well, not just something through art. It's helped me express like who I am. I have my picture over there that I took with my camera and digital photography for one of the contests. And I mean, I didn't know that the camera had a manual mode until this year, which I've been using my camera for how long?
Is that your picture with the, of the window? I can't really see what else.
It's on the.
Oh, this
on the
side,
left
okay.
side.
I'll look when I get up.
But I've taken Art 1, Art 2. I've had both teachers. Miss A, I've known Miss A for a while. She used to teach us when we were younger as well. And I mean, I think she can agree. The growth that we all have from freshmen to now is incredible. And watching everybody work in such a welcoming environment and like in honors and AP, we're all together. And at the end of the day, we're all kind of just sitting there talking, you know. It's a very welcoming environment. There's a lot of different people in our art program as well. I mean, I look like I should be in a construction class, but I'm not. I'm in art. It's very different, a lot of different people. I've met people that I don't think I'd ever would talk to if it weren't for art. And I just think that there's so much to expand on, even though we have so much already.
Wonderful. And Miss A follows you through your life, just so that you know.
Excellent.
She teaches you
Yeah.
and then she follows
Oh,
you.
I know. Trust me.
And
That's
let
wonderful.
me
Thank
say
you so much.
I love going to high school, and walking through art classes and the creativity and the type of work that the students are doing at such a high level that they are really getting phenomenal experiences to really demonstrate their skills. So thank you for bringing that opportunity.
Thank
And
you
Miss
so much.
Ann, I have a question for you. Oh, yeah, you can clap. And I know that, you know, sometimes it gets lost, but if you can just kind of be on us and let us know, like, hey, this is going on, you know, I'm changing the pictures up there, walk through, because a good point is that our meetings are now here, so we don't have the luxury of going through the high school, but I know that I'll make a point to go, because I love to see the kids work, and, you know, or if you have, you know, some kind of a contest or something that's great going on, I mean, that's the stuff that we love to hear.
Okay, yeah, that's a definite, and also, we're gonna hopefully, we can't do district-wide art show yet because of
Right,
COVID,
right.
but we are going to do a high school-based one.
Okay.
We're not gonna let that slide away.
Good.
We did do a senior art show last year, and we want to definitely do the district-wide one, and, well, not the district-wide, but the Oxford High in March again, during Student Art Month. One thing I could say about art, this is behind the scenes. When a student comes in my room the first day in the art one, because that's one of the most boringest classes that we could teach, because we've been teaching art for so long. However, Ms. Campbell and I brainstorm and come up with different projects all the time, only because we can't handle the same thing over and over again. The biggest question I ask my students is, how many people are here because you have to take it? Because art is one of it. And you get the hands, you get 5, and all I ask them is to please give me a chance by the end of first quarter to have you want to come into my room. And already I'm having these kids that raise their hand at the beginning of the year saying, I'm starting to like art again, and that makes us feel what we need to feel. And also, they didn't mention it, but we have art club that Miss Campbell and I put on every other week because Hope Club comes in between. But we're actually able to do sculpture and things like that after school because we don't have enough time in the day. And they all hang out, they talk, and we have, again, freshmen through seniors doing it. And I think that's going unseen in our school system. And also, last year I had a senior, Miss Campbell and I were conferencing with her about her work. And she had gone to ECA for the first 3 years. And she was back to our school in a senior year. And she actually said to us, we have given her more instruction than she received at ECA.
That's
Okay. So that's just something to think about because stuff like that motivates us as teachers. And it just keeps us going to come up, even slam the kids with more creative opportunities in our school.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I think that those are the kind of comments that you don't hear every day. And when a student says it to it, it's a lot better than the dollar sign. It's a lot, it really is when you have a student that really appreciates what they're doing.
And just so that you know, I think you've heard it from this board before, but I'll reinforce it. The reason we encouraged and supported the AP class is because we want to keep our kids in our school. We want our most talented to stay in the school, in art, in music, in writing, in sports or whatever. So that just makes us a stronger school and a stronger district. So we're with you on that.
Yes. I would love to see that. To keep working.
Let's work together.
We're on the same one. But thank you.
Thank you so much. So. Take a picture.
This was one of my friends that was well, I just grabbed my camera. You can manually see the capture, and what that does is it allows the different light exposure on the camera. So, that
So this is
Thank you. Nice job. It's very good.
Like 600 in March. Less than a year. 6 of them. Right. Sure. We're back. Oh, Shelley.
I am.
No. So, I know. Yes. The school plans. All right, Miss Aldridge, show's over. Bye, girls. Thank you.
Thank you again.
So, and, our newly appointed principal, Sylvia Lett, congratulations.
Oh, thanks so much.
And, so you are going to present the plan and, it just help if that works, or if you want to stand, as long as we can hear you and kind of like the people behind weren't, they're not tonight.
Do you want me to come up here?
Wherever you're most comfortable with.
You can stay seated there. So as long as
Okay.
you- So just
I
as a
can
reminder,
project pretty well too.
yeah. So
And
just
being
as a-
in middle school now, I can project.
So just a reminder to the board and to the audience, the school improvement plans are designed as a 1-year plan. Where we want to go at the end of the year, we have presented to the board of copies, if you want a copy of the full year plan. And Ms. Alette and Mr. Swinton are here tonight to present their plans to you.
Great.
So,
Thank you. So, I want to preface this with, this is my 3rd week as the middle school principal. So I have been spending a lot of time learning, and in that time have written this school improvement plan that I think will have some adjustments as I go along. But, middle school years are there are a big time of huge change in development for kids. So at Parents Open House, I shared a cartoon with parents about
the gradual release of their children from caterpillars in 6th grade to butterflies in 8th grade, and then it really happens in the blink of an eye. And I think, you know, as I walk the hallways, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing from size to maturity to just emotional growth, from the 6th to the 8th grade. There's a lot happening to them in the middle school year. So, you know, like I said, this is my 3rd week at the middle school, and at the heart of my work has been the following. So since I walked in the door, it's been about building relationships with staff, students, and families. You know, I started with a family letter to staff and to families to let them know a little bit about who I am, my family, what I believe. I got some great responses from parents, from staff. I've been doing one-on-ones with staff, small group meetings, and I've been in with the kids a lot, so much to the point on the 3rd day, the kids are like, we know you're Mrs. Ola, we know you're the new principal. Like, so that we've established that. So, you know, building relationships has been really key for me. The second thing is building a learning community that focuses on teaching and learning. So I've been in a ton of classes. I watched a really great Socratic seminar about would you rather be from Athens or Sparta, and the kids used such great precise language. They were able to give examples of why. They were able to say things like, I agree with so-and-so, but to add on to that, or I disagree because, and it was respectful dialogue where the teacher facilitated. You know, I've been to athletic games. I've been in the cafeteria a lot. It just trying to build this learning community. And the PD sessions with staff we just had one on Friday where we are working with building this learning community. And at the same time, we're looking to celebrate success and to focus on their social emotional learning. So for the year coming up, here are the focuses. You've heard this. Everybody's focusing on the high impact instructional strategies, right? The 6 of them. We've paired them into pairs of 2 in our building. So we're looking at learning targets and success criteria together. And I'm happy to say, like in the daily walkthroughs, everybody's got a learning target up on the board. And if I'm in a class, like I was in a math class the other day, and I was looking at the learning target, I was talking to the kids, and I was like, And then afterwards, the teacher emailed me right away. I'm sorry, my learning target didn't match, you know, blah, blah, blah. Here's what it really was supposed to be, but right away, that happened. So next is focusing on success criteria. So the kids know what the target is, but now what do they have to do to be successful? Then we'll go to classroom discussion and hot questions, and we'll go to feedback and self-assessment. So also at the same time is student growth and achievement. You know, there's a lot of room for student growth and achievement, obviously, and we're going to focus on some school-wide expectations for behavior first. Like we're doing that this week. We're looking at bringing back the HERO acronym that was there before that talks about how we need to behave in classroom settings and in the bathroom and in the cafeteria, because kids have been away from a lot of these social norms. And in middle school, you know, there's a graphic that talks about the last sort of normal year they've had was, if they're in 6th grade, it was 4th grade. So that there's a lot there, and I know they know how to do it. They just need to remember how to do it. So we're going to do a lot around that and their social emotional needs. And we're going to use iReady to the fullest. We are in makeups with iReady right now. So we administered it all last week. This week we're doing makeups, and we're digging into the diagnostic data to see what it's telling us. And we're going to really use the new math program to the fullest potential. I said, you know, it's really paramount to be in classrooms, and one of the goals this year is really about the feedback about teaching and learning. Every time I pop in, I give either oral feedback to the teacher, or I send a quick email, send a quick note, and then even for the more formalized teacher evaluation process. Right now, they're all doing their goal setting meetings. And then the last thing is, it is middle school, and we need to celebrate successes, and we need to grow our community spirit. So on Friday, we brainstormed a lot of ways that we can bring the spirit to the middle school with either spirit days or, you know, just safe activities that can bring our learning community together. So those are the focus areas. I don't know if you have any questions for me. I feel like if we, and I have to say, Ellen has been amazing to walk in 3 weeks ago, and she's just been such a great, like just partner in all of this work. So I can't say it's me doing it, we are doing this work together. So, you know, the result I hope is academic growth and growth in a lot of other ways for these students. So I don't know if you have any questions about any of the areas on the plan.
Are you talking about so far, or as we've already read further along? Do you want us to hold any questions on other parts? I wasn't sure if you were.
No, you know, that's my overview. I wasn't going to read it verbatim to you because I figured you already read it. So if you have questions on specific areas, we can talk about them. Sure.
So you know me, so yeah, but, this last spring, of course, with COVID and everything, it's difficult to really measure progress in a meaningful way with all the difficulties and so forth. But the year before, you and Jason both did these wonderful presentations with, you know, I think the board had asked for, but I think you already had it ready, where instead of percent of students at grade level, for each grade level that were at goal, near goal, and all of that, you guys actually broke it out by the numeric scale scores, so that you had hard numbers to measure growth during really hard times. We all understand that. And I think it would be important to do that again. I think there were some disaggregated scores. I'm sure you still have it, but I saved it because I thought it was terrific. You know, if for some reason it's on some drive in somewhere, I'd be more than delighted to send it to you. But I think I may have shared it with Rob. I don't know if I shared it with Anthony, but Deb and Stephanie, I just wanted to, you know, bring it up first before, you know, I shared it in a general way. But it was a very, very good hard numbers, you know, with some disaggregated that really, you know, showed, you know, like I'm going to make up a number, say the average of 33 in ELA was 2,065. I'm just making that number. So then, last year, again, we couldn't really measure because of all the difficulties, but perhaps this year, knowing again, it may be another tough year, it would be very important, I think, for that same kind of presentation and contained even within your school, or however you guys decide to do it, but I think that would be really important.
Anyone else have any questions?
No, I was just gonna say that, I love the goals, you know, the baseline mid-year and then your final goal. And at this point, you know, you're just gathering the information. So again, mid-year, we'd love to hear how these are going and what they need to be adjusted. Just like anything, I mean, a goal is an aspiration. I mean, it's not if you don't hit it, and then if you don't hit it, there's got to be a reason why, what you're doing to adjust. So we totally do understand that. But you know, I just think as a board, we're anxious to see concrete data that our kids are growing, because they've lost, you know, and who knows what's going to happen. I mean, maybe tests won't be able to happen. I mean, I hope that we can get this data so that we can really see where the kids are struggling and deal with that and see where their successes are and celebrate that. But I just think everyone's just so concerned at what they've lost, you know, and then I know you guys are on the front line of that. So thank you. And then anytime you can give us, and you know, you don't have to wait. I mean, if you see something that is like, wow, this is so great, you know, either shoot us an email or shoot it to Dr. Miller and he can include it in his report. I mean, it's not something that has to be this formal, but I just know that as a board, that's just something that our focus is this year, that we just want to hear about that. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question, Steph.
Sure.
Just generally speaking, a lot like priority one and high impact instructional strategies. How do you, it's very qualitative. How do you implement a measure like, are the teachers doing or not doing? You drop in a room one day, but then is that, how do you understand there's consistency in delivery?
Well, I think with something like I talked about with learning targets, so we establish the goal, and Anthony actually had the faculty meeting prior to me becoming principal, where he went over learning targets and the expectation. And now the follow through with us is every time we walk in a room, we expect to see them, and we're in rooms every day. And so you establish that, and like I had given the example about math, now the expectation, they know the expectation, and if it isn't met, they reflect on it very quickly. So something like that, it is actually pretty easy to be qualitative in that. Now, next with success criteria, it's going to be a little bit trickier because it'll be like, how are the students going to show what they know? And so we're going to have to, through the walkthroughs, but through formal evaluation process, do that too. But it is a priority to be in classrooms, and that's the best way I'm going to know this work is happening.
Right.
And Ellen is going to know this work is happening. So that's probably going to be our biggest way, and the teachers are in tune to it too. So like I said, when they're having classroom discussions, for instance, they're emailing me and saying, and they're emailing Ellen, they're saying, oh, we're going to be doing this fishbowl, you should come by and see the kids discussing. So they know what the 6 are, and they know the expectations, and they want us to see that they're doing it, they're implementing it. So that's going to be the best way for us to see at least those 6 high impact instruction strategies.
So how long, assuming certain classes are doing it, teachers naturally do it, some don't, and it's
Right.
proposed. How long is it you think it takes to get to a point of like certainty of execution all the time? You know what I mean? Where
Right.
it's in the fabric of the school.
Yeah.
Is that a year? Is that?
That's a really
years?
good question, because the change process is not, you have your, what do they call them? Your pioneers who just right away implement, right? And then you have, once the pioneers see, I don't know what the technical term is, but once they see the pioneers, another group sees the pioneers do it. Is it Florence change? I don't know. It's one of those gurus. But once they see the pioneers, the trailblazers, then they attach on. And it's that really like 80-20. And then you usually have just then that 10% that you're bringing along. So I think I subscribe pretty much to that. And in my years, I've seen that that's how it works. So I'm hoping, like, the learning targets has not been, it's 100%. Like every room has that. Now, whether or not they're to the, they're using them to the best of their ability, that's what I have to keep
Right.
seeing. So I wish I could say I could wave my wand and it'll all be done in 6 months, but that's not realistic.
Just wanted your perspective. So.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're in the classrooms and what you're sharing with us is what you're seeing, what's up on the board, what you're seeing with your Socratic dialogue and questioning and all of those things. So that's great. I mean, I think I first met you many years ago at another middle school. So I know that you really know middle school well. So thank you for sharing that.
Any questions for Sylvia from the board? Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Yeah.
And, well, we're going to appoint you in the next item, but our soon to be appointed Oxford High School Principal, Rob Schulman.
Good evening, everyone. I think I have Sylvia beat today. This is my first full day. So, and I'm still standing despite all the busing issues. We're good. But first, I wanted to certainly thank Dr. Miller, Mr. Hibbert, and Ms. Potter certainly for all of her support. The school improvement plan that you're seeing is a collaborative effort, I would say, on both of our parts in putting this together. Again, those high yield instruction strategies are a focus for us in the high school, and Sylvia talked about that pioneer group. I would say that our department chairs are very well versed and very solid instruction. So they set the tone, not only in terms of regular administration going into classrooms, but their presence in the classroom is also helping to drive towards that 80%. So again, I don't know if I'd can guarantee it be a 6-month situation or not, but we are moving in the right direction with that, and there are certainly instructors that are more consistent with that at first. I think if you look at our school improvement plan, the one thing that kind of jumps out based on our baseline data is that student self-assessment. Are they able, during the course of a lesson, to identify their own learning? Are they able to figure out not just a success criteria, but are they able to figure out how to assess how well they've absorbed the material in a given class? So that's the area that I think that we need to spend the most time on. That and obviously direct student feedback whenever possible. Given our fluctuating schedule, I would say that those block periods are a great opportunity for individual student feedback in terms of how they're performing in an individual course, individual unit, or what's being covered, during the course of a week. So I think we're heading in the right direction in a number of those things. I think that you'll also see we've aligned some of the Connecticut Common Core power standards as Ms. Potter has coined them, and I think they're indicated in there as power attributes. They do very much mirror the big 6 that our district is focusing on in terms of first and foremost, creating an environment in the classroom where kids are comfortable to take risks and feel like their teacher is going to ensure that all students have an equal learning opportunity. So that's really a kind of the first key issue for us, is establishing that environment for students so that they're comfortable, kind of sticking their neck out and answering questions that they may, or asking questions that they may not know the answer to, and participating in classes and obviously making the most of learning opportunity. The other thing that I think Ms. Ouellette touched upon is the amount of time that kids have been out of school. We ran 19 different schedules last year because of hybrid in, hybrid out, shortened days, and deep cleaning days and everything else. So what we're finding, I think, right now is helping students with the stamina aspect of school. It's nice if we have, upperclassmen that are coming in later, leaving early, and they have that privilege, but the further you go into a school year, I think you start to see that stamina piece come in. And for us, it's making sure that our kids are comfortable socially and emotionally, and that we're working on Ruler. We're working also on the Castle 5 and implementing that because it's a little bit more friendly at the high school level. So we're looking at different ways of connecting the kids and making sure that they're comfortable in the classroom and monitoring that. And I think our advisory program is another way that we're going to continue that work this year. A couple of big things have kind of gone on the PD front. Ms. Potter, on her last day, led a meeting session for a chunk of our faculty. We covered a number of different aspects from bullying to our attendance shifts in terms of remote learning. So we have had some kids on quarantine, and teachers have the ability to provide access to students. That will again become important as we start to lose bus drivers and kids are struggling to come in. So the other PD that I ran that I think many of you are aware of is the revamp of Capstone this year. And again, I'd like to thank Sylvia for her involvement in that prior to shifting over to the middle school. We've adopted a program called Skills 21 that's used a number of schools throughout the state. And we have a liaison and actually a tech person that come out that are assigned to our district and help. Essentially what we've got is, I think, 7 sections of seniors. So there are 7 classes during the first semester where those kids are meeting with instructors 4 times a week. And we're working through the development of the Capstone project, a more traditional project, because we're in a day and age where we can't really do internships as we have in the past. And so through Skill 21 and the support of the people in that organization, we've gotten to the point where kids are writing proposals and putting things together. And at the end of all this, we're going to run a similar evaluation process for our kids. They'll earn a half credit for completion of the Skills 21 curriculum, but then there'll also be a fair kind of environment where kids have, last year, kids presented their capstone projects virtually to 2 faculty members who had a rubric and then scored that presentation for the second half of things. So we revamped that program. All of our seniors are involved in that. That's an ongoing, obviously, we're kind of building it as we fly it, you know, in year one, but the kids, in terms of their buy-in, they're right there. You know, I think that they prefer this as opposed to having to chase certain members of the committee and to get things done. So that's been another big change for us. Sylvia also spoke about iReady. We've completed iReady, I believe, with all of our grade 9 and 10 students. We do have English language arts labs and math labs available for remedial support. So we're using that concrete data to now prioritize kids that need to catch up in a hurry, right? So we're identifying the students with the biggest gaps. And through the school counseling team, we're actually plugging those kids into labs now for at least a semester and then reevaluating. So we're using that new assessment tool. The best part about that is it gives us very specific feedback, kind of like the PSATs do, right? So the instructors of those labs have a roadmap, know exactly what those kids are lacking, and can cater the program to them. So they're working with small numbers of kids, but again, given that, they have the opportunity to really make up some ground. So far, so good with using that new assessment tool. The other thing I think Sylvia pointed out was just the relationships and how impressed she was in the 3 weeks, you know, with her students and her faculty. And I would say that in the time that I've been at Oxford High School, it's really all been about relationships. As you can see from Ms. Aldridge and her students that were in attendance tonight, our instructors live and breathe for our kids, and they have some phenomenal relationships with kids that last well beyond high school. And I think that that's a credit to the leadership and obviously the board in the district. You've got a really committed group of people at the high school, and they love their kids and the kids love them. So it's a wonderful place for me to be. Let's see if there's anything else I needed to touch upon right off the bat. Talked about that piece. Oh, finally, Dr. McKinnon, Dr. Miller began the work on the attributes of a graduate, and you'll see some information in our plan about that. Those were all the gatherings where parents, community members all sat down in the different schools and were asked the question, what does the ideal school look like? What's the ideal student? What student skills, attributes or qualities can they demonstrate upon graduation? And that was done throughout the community.
I'm so sorry. Where did you say that is? I'm so sorry.
Let me see if I can find it
Oh,
exactly.
it's
Attributes of a graduate. So
Yeah, it's okay.
Oxford High School Priority 2, I think it's probably like the 4th page in.
All right, thank you so much.
So through that process, we identified the vision of the graduate, portrait of the graduate. Critical thinkers, collaborative learners, empowered learners, productive citizens, and effective communicators. Those were the classifications that through all that data and the analysis from all of those sessions, those were the things that stuck out and what the district built the vision around. I have a capstone section at the moment, and I actually did the same activity with my capstone students to find out what they thought the ideal school would look like. Or should look like, and what skills, attributes they felt were important to them. And it was amazing to me because I had Sylvia's PowerPoint from the beginning of school, and everything fell right into those different categories. It was almost like it was rigged. Their responses really fell into those classifications. So what we're doing in the capstone classes is, as students do different projects through the program, they're also identifying their growth in those different areas. Our faculty has begun the process in a departmental fashion of looking at those different headings and defining what a critical thinker looks like in English, defining what a critical thinker looks like in science, and really kind of boiling that down so that we can develop some way to evaluate students. The next step for us will then be to break our staff down into interdisciplinary teams to develop rubrics specifically for those, so that we can start to really dig in with our kids and not just in 12th grade, but across the board and then throughout the district, to really help kids wrap their heads around those different attributes and what we're all hoping that they graduate with, right? Those are the expectations for them. So that's some of the work that's happening, quite a bit. And what I would tell you is, obviously, we have to look at iWriting results. We have to look at PSAT results, SAT results, and try to get a hold of where we are based on the amount of time that we've missed, and then look at student growth from there. You'll see PSAT results in there. You'll see AP scores in there. I think that there's some more data to be broken out, potentially in terms of the number of kids that break up those AP scores, so you can kind of see, are we talking about 4 kids, or are we talking about 40 taking an exam? Because I think that that's important. And then the other piece that we look at further is the students that are recommended for those courses versus the students that sometimes get waived into AP courses, and how do they score differently. So I'd like to look at that a little bit more closely going forward. Again, College Board allows equal access for students, right? But I think that that's important when you start to look at specific data when it comes to AP scores, is that you can break it out a little bit and have, you know, a little deeper look at it.
I just ask you a question. When you say waived in, what do you mean by that?
Meaning that when we go through the course registration process, students are recommended for specific courses. Students may work with parents and or department chairs to go above that recommended course and push for an AP.
Right.
And the College Board does encourage equal access for AP courses. So, you know, our way of going through that is to identify the courses where our faculty think that students will be the most successful. And if they choose to go above and beyond, we're certainly willing to entertain that, but at the same time, we also want to say, hey, this is a college course. You need to be able to handle that, be prepared for that. So breaking that out can give us a little bit more data than just averages.
As far as weighting, I mean, is one of the reasons that parents try to do that is it because, say, a C in an AP course looks, I don't know if it looks better or weighted as a B or an A in an honors course. Is that true, or is that a fallacy? Or
My background is in school counseling. What I would tell you is that Oxford High School doesn't weight grades. So there's a kick. There's a little bit of a kick for honors in AP, but we don't break it out to the extreme that some other schools do. What ends up being a larger draw from the college admission standpoint is what courses does a high school offer, and what courses have had students taken and had access to. So yes, there is something to be said for that. Back in the day, I would say, listen, if you can pull a B or better, take a more challenging course, right? So that's kind of it. You can't go in there and.
But just taking it to put it on your resume is not going to help you if you get a D on it.
Correct. Yeah. You pull the C's and the D's in an AP course, you haven't done yourself any favors.
Right.
You know, so, and I think our counseling team is really good about, you know, kind of going through that process with them, and certainly the department chairs weigh in where it's appropriate, but, you know, in the end, we get some students that take on that bigger challenge. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It's the ones that may take 4 APs, you know, that may be pushing. You know, I always counsel kids to kind of play to their strengths. So if you were going to push it for an AP in a given area, hopefully it's a content area where you're most comfortable.
And sometimes colleges don't accept those AP courses too, which makes it, I mean, it's a great challenge intellectually for our students, but I don't know if there's a way to map what they think might be a potential college choice. And so early in time.
That's the big thing. So you look at the averages in those scores. Some schools will take a 3 to 5. Majority will take a 4 or a 5. They might not give you college credit for them. They may just offer you placement out of a prerequisite. So for the average high school student that really doesn't know where it is that they're going to go or what it is that they're going to study until they get towards the second half of their junior year and senior year, despite all the stuff that you do with them, there's no way that they can wrap their heads around an AP policy at that point.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
Still trying to wrap my head around the student self-assessment. Is there an example of that?
so I think that the easiest way to articulate it is that it's student success criteria. If you asked a kid, a student entering the classroom, how do you know if you've been successful in a lesson, if you've met the objectives? That's one piece. But then being actually more reflective on the learning itself and to what extent they've absorbed the lesson. That's the self-assessment piece. And that's difficult to monitor unless you're soliciting feedback, I think, from individual students. That's kind of where the catch-22 is with us.
I'm self-assessing myself. My grade says I'm a city. Where does my counselor work?
Right. You have to demonstrate that, you know, you're on an A level. I don't think it's that the kids, and I don't mean to interrupt. but
No, Mary?
I don't think that it's the kids are saying, giving themselves a grade. I mean, by self-assessment, they should be able to demonstrate that they understand whatever
Correct.
concept it is. It's not that they're giving
I
themselves.
don't think I'm marking.
So self-assessment is kind of a catch, you know, maybe not, I don't know if it's the right. term. They're not
A lot of
grading
it is
themselves.
about a lot of self-assessment is about goal setting too. So if you're in a course and you want to set goals about how you want to perform in that course and what your grade isn't reflective of what the goals that you set, then you set targets for yourself and you say, and a lot of teachers do these self-assessment, like these self-assessment sheets, and they'll say to kids, okay, so this is the grade that you got. Think about what work did you put in to get to where you are? What are the steps you took? And then students reflect on it. They do a lot of metacognitive thinking, like thinking about your thinking. So this is what I did. This is how I prepared. Next time, this is what I'll do. So a lot of self-assessment is about setting goals and then seeing if you reach the goals. And if you don't reach the goals, why haven't you done it? And so it's a skill that transfers into life too, because a lot of our kids set goals and then they don't reach them. And if they can't reach them, why is it that they can't reach them? And it's a really great skill to teach kids because in life, right? And we see this all the time in society now. Kids are failing at different things and they don't know how to regroup and set goals and try again. And so we have to get them, if we can get them to do that in middle school, and then in high school, it's a safe place to fail, and then you can launch from the failure. So that's a lot about what self-assessment.
Because I know for the last 2 years, we've been trying to really get in touch and have a feel of the counselors and how they actually work with the students itself. And a flow diagram of how many students does the counselor have? You know, and where do they fit into this process of now self-assessment? You know, is it, I'm going to sit down with my science teacher and talk about my grades, and he's going to say, well, do you know Pythagoras theory? And I'm going to say, yeah, and oh yeah, well, you did better than. I'm looking at where's the meat on this thing to actually get the students, because it seems like they don't really have, just as you said, they don't know until their junior or senior year, possibly, of where they're gonna go. And we talked all last year and the year before about starting at a much younger grade level to start to focus the kids into different channels that the counselors would be able to take and provide. So I'm still looking for, where's the counselor fit in there? How many students
Okay,
does she
so-
have? How does she work with capstone? What is that role of that person?
Our school counseling staff does a couple of different things. They focus on obviously the academic development of all of their students and goal setting and working along career exploration as well. So they push in basically from freshman year on into different classes. In this year in particular, they will be pressing in to help students with the organization of post-secondary plans, completing college applications, essays, those types of things. So they do on a regular basis push into classes. They are doing that work earlier. I should clarify that in my estimation, my experience, that you don't have students who have a crystal clear idea of where it is that they're going or what it is that they want to do until the second half of their high school career. Not due to a lack of exposure, but due to, I think, kids sorting through different ideas, sampling different electives, trying to find things that really they want to gravitate towards. And then taking advantage of those. So I think that the counselors are involved in the career exploration aspect of things. They certainly assist to align those with course selection from year to year as well. And then there's the goal setting conversations about what it is that you want to achieve and accomplish post-secondary. What are your ambitions? So they're an integral part of it. They're involved in a lot of different places. And as I said, they do push in. Not only do they work with individual students on their caseload, and we've got 3 counselors handling 560 kids. Decent proportion, right? Compared to national standards for that. But I think that, they're doing the work. They're doing the work in a variety of settings, not just in, with one kid at a time. They're pushing into classes. And sometimes not with their own students, but they're doing general lessons as well.
Look at that. This might be an Anthony and Rob question. If we don't have an answer, we can come back to it. Last year, all the principals very kindly and openly gave us a connection to the school improvement plans. I don't know if that's appropriate unless it's at certain benchmarks but something to think about. I don't know if it makes, people uncomfortable. Just people might be hearing it as they're trying to, enter data or whatever, but it was great to see that last year. But again, I don't know that it's appropriate, but just something sort of an ask for thinking about.
I like to see it like, what's that? I like to have them do it and then give us the review and the support.
So not,
I just don't think that we need to be into every bit of it. I think that they can come back and report, but they're welcome to come anytime, and we'll probably have them hear more now that we're back. Whereas before we were having people at meetings, and so this way we can have more dialogue. And I think that I'd rather have more dialogue and talk about things than see a spreadsheet or.
and I just sometimes you don't want people sort of looking in as you're developing things. So anyway, just throwing it on the table, but yeah.
Any other questions?
Nicole, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Is she able to unmute?
She's unmuted.
Okay, because when I look at her, she's muted.
He's not muted right now. He wasn't-
She's also not there.
Right. She unmuted herself before.
Oh, she did. Okay, I just want to make sure that she has the ability to do that.
Acknowledge that.
Okay,
That's in there. Yes.
okay. Any other questions
Can I
for
just
Rob?
ask a question? Rob, we, in the past, and I'm not sure where this might fall into your plan, but in the past, we used to have board students be on the board as board of ed liaison. So if we could kind of talk about getting back to that piece at some point, I think that would be a really great thing, and maybe it's part of the leadership piece, or it's just a good way for the kids to come to us to give us ideas of what's going on, and also come back to you guys and say, this is what we think is important.
And actually, Mrs. Potter and I have had that conversation about how that there are some students that are interested in participating, and we just gave over the structure.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I
Absolutely.
think it would be a really great thing to have.
You're talking about for the board meetings themselves.
Yeah.
And I think historically it's been one junior, one senior, if I remember correctly. That way they were serving for 2 years if they came as a junior.
That's what it is in the past, but we could certainly talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
I just think it was a really great thing that we should do.
We're ready for that. Nicole's next. Nicole, did you have questions?
Nicole, do you have any questions for Rob?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Here you do. I do have 2 quick questions. And I probably should know this, but I've just forgotten. So you had mentioned that the department chairs are able to, because they do some of the evaluation
Correct.
of staff. Now, what is their schedule so that instead of teaching 5 classes, they teach 4, or how does that work? Like, how can they, if they're teaching, how can they get into class? Do they get someone to cover their class?
That's happened in some cases.
Is that
There are,
correct, that they teach
there's a
4
teacher that
classes?
can't get to a specific person in their department. And so there may be a coverage situation. Ms. Blossom may borrow another chemistry teacher to sit in on her chemistry class so that she can go evaluate the one person that she can't see, kind of thing. But by and large, I would say that our department chairs make the time and make it work so that they're getting in the classrooms with their teachers.
And is it that they teach 4 classes instead of 5?
That helps with the flexibility of it, but they also have a pretty full description in terms of their jobs and.
No, I understand
expectations.
that.
Yeah.
I'm just
But that helps them,
logistically,
yes.
I'm just saying, I mean, if they have to, we have to look at what our definition of department chairs are, instead of like
Yep.
teachers teach 5 classes, department chairs.
Department chairs do
understand
teach
their
the 4.
responsibility. They teach 4, so they have that little.
And that
extra
evaluated
time.
component, correct?
Evaluation. Okay, and then.
Shared,
Yeah,
shared, yeah,
okay.
because we're involved in that as well.
Right, so there's not a teacher that you would not see because of, so I would assume that you would do some, you have a new assistant principal, and then, so there'd be more than 2 eyes.
Correct.
And then my other question on Capstone is, I remember Sylvia being very excited about the Skills 21 program, and it sounds like it's gonna be great, so we'd love updates on that too, but
Certainly.
will the kids, I know, in the past, they had mentors, is that required? Or is it just like, is it dependent on what their?
So again, we've, again,
I
we're
mean,
kind of building it as we
outside
fly. Historically, students have had a mentor.
Right,
So we are asking them to connect with some sort of content expert. I can give you an example of a couple of my students that actually have 2 mentors because of the nature of their assignment. One student is consulting with a nutritionist and an exercise physiologist, right, to develop a nutrition and exercise plan to take student X and then find out where he is, where his goals are, and actually create a plan and then the outcome. So he's consulting with a couple of different mentors on the outside. So it really depends on what the project is. They're going to be blogging about their experiences as they go, which is nice. And then there's going to be some sort of outcome for every capstone program,
Yeah.
every capstone project that takes place.
it's great for the people outside the community to connect with these high school kids and with Oxford and, just with the community, so. All right, thank you. Any other questions for Rob from the board? Okay, well, if we're done, then we can move on to, so stay, Rob, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Our next is potential appointment of the new Oxford High School principal. You can stay, Rob.
Okay.
We're thinking it may be you, but I don't know. Oh, maybe. Go ahead, Deb.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not in there, so I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert Schuman to the position of Oxford High School principal.
Second.
Everybody jumped on that one.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Not a job today, but would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I think, I did a letter to the community and that really speaks a lot to my connection to Oxford. I don't know if you folks had a chance to read that. My connection to Oxford High School goes back to before Oxford High School existed. I was at Woodland High School when they first opened. And I met Frank Samuelson the year before Oxford High School opened. And I remember having conversations about curriculum, the advisory program, the scheduling, all of those things in conjunction with the principal that I left Amity High School to go to Woodland with. And so just knowing the type of man he was and the investment that he brought to the high school was, he was perfect for Oxford High School as the first principal. So he was the right guy to start the high school. And then 7 years later, I walked through the door for the first time as the assistant principal, and I met Frank Savo in his last year before retirement, which was great. Very different people, right? And then Ms. Potter came in the next year, and we got to have 6 years together as well. So in a strange way, I've been connected to Oxford High School before it opened, and I've worked with every single administrator at the high school level. up to this point. So I certainly feel a very strong connection to the high school. As I said, it's all about relationships for me in terms of our faculty and our students and the cohesion that they have and mutual respect that they have. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity and look forward to helping to move all of that forward. It's a really good place to be.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Dr. Miller, report of the superintendent.
Thank you, principals.
Actually, I was gonna welcome Sylvia and welcome Alan. Can I take a little bit of your, guys, so can I take a little bit of your report? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna, I'm gonna go to FOI jail for this, but I do want to let you guys leave. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of my report, which is welcoming several district personnel to their new positions. First, Mr. Anthony Hibbert on his appointment as assistant superintendent. He's already been an invaluable asset, and I haven't seen him screaming down 67, so I'm thrilled. Congratulations to Sylvia Olet on her appointment as a middle school principal and veteran in the position, but we also want to welcome and congratulate Ellen Knapp. So she's the air quotes veteran as the new assistant principal. She's a trooper in jumping in with Anthony and now a strong pivot with Sylvia. So we appreciate it. You definitely show the Oxford strong spirit. And congratulations to Dorothy Potter in her move to central office as the director of curriculum and the newest appointment. Congratulations to Rob Schulman in his new role as principal of Oxford High School. We look forward to celebrating our successes. So now, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Tracy and Linda, you're welcome too. And Pam, why not?
So as if all those changes have not enough to report, I feel like we've been very busy over the last couple of weeks. I've got to say that Scarlett's hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I could feel immediately from the first day that he walked through the door, the amount of work that I had just kind of slowly and very rapidly hit the ground.
Excellent.
And I'm very busy still, but he has really provided tremendous support since day one through today. I can't thank him enough for hitting the ground running. Thank you very much.
And thank you for letting me interrupt your report.
That's okay.
But now mine will be
Victoria.
less.
Yeah. So I have several different things to report. We are engaged. We began the work in August with the administrative team and our department of high school with a process of learning how to provide high quality feedback to teachers. We're working with an education consultant for additional learning. We had an opportunity, our leadership team, Mr. Hibbert, Ms. Potter, and Ms. Sussy, last week to meet with them for half a day to really talk about what our goals are for this year. We have a set of dates scheduled beginning of next week, actually. We're going to be doing what's called transcending walkthroughs. We're going to be walking through classrooms in high school and classrooms in elementary school, 20 and 28, to establish a baseline of what is going on in the classroom. How teachers are instructing related to the high impact instruction strategies that we want them to be doing. You heard about learning targets and success criteria, prioritization questions, the classroom discussions, what actually is tangibly happening in the classroom. And really we're looking for evidence on what teachers are doing, where the impact is on student learning. Is it having the type of impact we want on improving student learning in all the different areas? Part of that work is to calibrate. The essence of calibration is if we all go into a classroom together, we should walk out having the same type of feedback from the teacher. And we can't begin providing feedback to teachers until we go through that calibration process itself. So the objective for those first 2 days with our consultant is to calibrate our entire administrative team, our instruction leaders, elementary school math coaches, our literacy staff, high school department chairs, to make sure that we all have the same lens of high quality instruction we walk into classroom. Following that, in November 8th, 9th, 10th, and 12th, we're going to be doing a series of non-evaluated teacher walkthroughs. What that means is going through with the concept of walking out, providing tangible feedback to teachers. So the first set of walkthroughs was, what are we seeing? How is it impacting student learning? The next set is, okay, now that we saw it, how can I tell that teacher that what they did impacted student learning, so that they as a teacher can grow in their instructional strategies as well. Following that, teachers and department chairs will be expected to continue that non-evaluative walking process through the course of the year. So we've all heard of the evaluation of going to the classroom, sitting down with the teacher beforehand and figure out, okay, what is it you want to need to provide feedback about, going to class, scripting the entire lesson, and then walking out into post observation. That formal evaluation is typically done 2 or 3 times a year. That doesn't have the same meaningful experience for a teacher as evaluating walking into a class, administrative department, or walking to classroom once a week, every other week, and giving that feedback as the year is progressing. That continual feedback is what's going to help the teacher grow. So we are going to be engaged in that practice during the year. We're training our administrators, we're training our department chairs how to do that, what to collect evidence for, how to collect that evidence, what questions to ask, what it's going to look like. Make sure we all have the same language behind that, and we have the same understanding of pipeline instruction. Our consultant's going to come back mid-year and really make sure that we are doing the right work. Not at the end of the year when everything's done, but mid-year to make sure that we are on the right track. And if we need to make any course revisions, so that we do so. So as this year progresses, I will return back to you and say, okay, this is where we are with that work. But we didn't want to stall this. We didn't want to say, okay, we're going to start this in January, February. To have the greatest impact, we didn't start as close to start the school year as possible. So that first step is next week. There are several department chairs and instructor leaders that were unable to attend our retreat. Ms. Potter is actually meeting with them in advance of the meeting next week to review them and catch them up to what they may have missed in that admin retreat in August. So this is exciting work. It's work that we had begun back in Ms. Weekend was here. It's work that we're continuing to do now. I have high confidence in the plan that we've developed. We've actually gone a little bit deeper than the original plan was to ensure that the success that we want to see happen. And some of these transcendent walkthroughs is going to help us establish that baseline. So it's great work, and I'm so excited that we've begun that process.
Is this what, is he doctor, is this what, is it Dr. Flynn or Mr. Flynn? Is he a doctor?
Is he a doctor? Mr. Flynn.
What's his first name?
Patrick.
Patrick, that goes together. Is that where you're utilizing him?
Yes, it is.
He's wonderful. Good.
He's written several books.
Yeah.
Our administrative team actually has. They all receive those books in August, and we'll be doing some book studies with that. And he's also providing some series of activities that our administrative team and our department chairs will continue to do in those interims that we're doing the non-evaluated walkthroughs to make sure that we're continuing to make progress as a team on one high quality instruction. So not just one thing we're doing, it's going to be a series of activities to continue to grow the leadership in the district in this area. Because that's really where this is going to make a true connect in student learning.
Yeah. Question, Dave, or whatever. Boy, you know that code and it came out so fluently. Of course, I couldn't keep up with notes. At some point, could we get a bullet point of that? Maybe you could say it to your computer, somebody can clean up. I don't want to make more work for you,
Yes.
but I want to be able to remember everything you said.
Yeah. You can listen to that. When he posts it.
Yeah, audio's not my thing, but I don't want to make more work, but at some point, or
Yes.
maybe Jack feels captured, who knows?
Yeah, and I don't think there's any updated Friday notes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so that's the instructional piece that's currently taking place. I'm attempting every week that we're providing Friday notes to you to give you some quicker updates. We've done math, K-5, and 9-12, or K-8 and 9-12. So I continue to give you a lens in what's happening in the classroom. And this gives you a lens in terms of what the initiative team is doing impacting student learning. A week ago Sunday, we had an event, the Oasis Vigil on the green. Very well attended event. They had tables around the green from various different organizations. They had Narcan training. They had kits for family members to lock prescription drugs away. There was a series of speakers. Mr. Temple spoke, Dr. Brown spoke, I spoke. They had 2 parents that had children that had gone through addiction and recovery, 2 addicts that were in recovery that spoke about their experience experiences. So a very well attended, very meaningful event that they had. It really speaks to, from my perspective, are we doing enough in K-12 to help prevent students from even getting to the point where they're even trying illicit substances? The stats are children that engage at age of 12, they have a higher risk of developing addiction over the next 7 years versus the children that do it starting at 18 and above. So what is it that we're doing in elementary school, middle school, high school to try and even curb that even more? So it's a work that I think we need to engage and have conversations around for that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have we considered, because I don't know if it was, because of COVID, I remember us, I know that the DARE program has been updated. Is that something that we are considering, or I don't know where that left off, if we weren't doing it, or if, like I said, I know it was updated and there was something about who was going to deliver it as far as the officer or whatever, but.
I know this conversation since she took place, and any more information as to where we are with that.
Yeah, because I just know, I mean, I taught 5th grade and I know people, had some kind of, people had different feelings about DARE. I have to say from a teacher's perspective that I thought it was great. Police officer came in, took, in full uniform and related to the kids, and the kids asked questions, and then afterwards, I had, you talk about meaningful dialogue, as a classroom teacher, had meaningful dialogue with these kids. And so I like I said, I'm a huge proponent of DARE, and I do know that I guess it got outdated or whatever, and they updated it, but or some program like that. I do think that we need to revisit that in our elementary
Exactly,
school.
something that as the curriculum committee starts to meet again, there should be conversation.
I was
around that.
gonna
Go ahead,
say,
Shelley.
that is something that we were beginning to work on, and we wanted, I also think there's good actually to do some of the teaching methodology to train some of the officers many moons ago. But I also endorse it as a terrific program. But what we were trying to do and working with Sylvia was to take whatever level you start at, even if we make it before 5th grade, and okay, so here's DARE. What does it dovetail and fit into that's, more than our 6 weeks of help in our curriculum? And how do we supplement that, what way, and then all the way up?
Right, and we can't start this in middle school, we can't start it in high school. The effective program needs to start with this conversation and students in high school. We don't wait for the students who are in 10th grade to tell them don't walk across the street without checking what direction to start really on.
Right.
You need to have these conversations at the grades, to develop developmentally appropriately out of those conversations. I had my first education forum on Zoom last Thursday night. Thank you, Vic, for attending. It was a very, very light attended event. We only had a few people on, but you've got to start somewhere.
That's right.
George Temple was on there as well, which is nice to see this activity. We had some really great positive feedback and communications across the district. Very complimentary of our district newsletter, of several schools doing newsletters. The feedback was make sure that we've got consistent newsletters and news coming out of all schools. So we want to make sure there's consistency in that regard. There was information about the capstone. We wanted to make sure that the students that are engaged as seniors have all the right information and have been provided explicit answers to their questions. So I gave them information, Mr. Schumann last week, so we've had conversations with the teachers involved with capstone. And it's something he's going to also work on getting some more information out in one of the Facebook and capstone newsletters to parents in high school.
Rob, just so you know, I would have been there, but I can't remember if I sent you the screenshot. He kept saying, waiting for the host to begin the meeting,
Okay.
but I was quite sure you hadn't done it. So just want you to know that I would have been there if I could have.
Thank you.
Would have, should have been.
Thank you. Our next one is scheduled. I wanted to create the first one, kind of an open environment to just hear parents give feedback and questions. Our next one will be around COVID. I already arranged with Dr. Brown. It will be October 28th, probably at 7 p.m. to answer questions about face mask and quarantine and vaccine and so forth. Those were very well attended last year. And we'll start these on a frequent basis and rotate the topics. But this follows up with a community was asking for at our last meeting. And that was just when I was able to get it scheduled for them.
Thank you so much.
The last couple of things really deal with logistics. We have our student operating plan steering committee now set. We've got 12 representatives. We've got 4 parents, 4 teachers, some administrators, department chairs. We have a good mix of stakeholders. I said our first meeting, and Vic is also part of that. Thank you. September 19th at 4 p.m. will be our first meeting, and we'll chart the plan for the year and begin actually getting down and creating the work that we need to develop the plan.
Is Vic the only board member?
On the board member that signed up, I have to have more.
Was anybody else interested? Because I think I forgot.
I
So,
but if, you know,
I mean, it could be more than one, I think. more than
Yeah,
one board
absolutely.
member. So if anyone can make, what's the meeting again?
September 19th at 4 p.m. will be the first meeting.
October, you make.
October.
October, sorry.
At what time?
4 p.m. and it'll be in person here. The first meeting, a lot of these actually will be virtual, but I wanted to everyone to be in the same room together to start the process.
So if anyone else can make that, and then what would the commitment be further? Like how often do you plan to meet?
As a full steering committee, we'll probably meet as a full team once a month, and we'll be breaking that committee up into smaller pods. They'll be doing some individual work at their own time that they feel that they can meet.
Okay. I mean, just so that people know what their commitment is, because, you know, I don't think it should be something that you go to one meeting, you don't go to another. I mean,
It's gonna be all year
consistent.
long.
Thank you.
Right. And then finally, we've had a crisis really with transportation over the last 48 hours. We had a series of bus drivers that came down with COVID or were quarantined, and another driver that was out with symptoms that was COVID related, waiting for test results to come in, and then another person that had personal days this week that they were unable to get the days revoked. And part of the issue was one of those individuals that was sick, but also manages our facilities and serves as a substitute when we were out, so we lost that. And then came last night where we also had another driver that went up last minute as well, also COVID related. So the numbers just went up, and then again this evening, I got word as the meeting was starting that we had another driver that impacts another bus that's going to be out, not COVID related, health related, another way. So it just a perfect storm this week. We thought we had a viable option of asking buses to drive around and pick kids up after 9 a.m. this morning and after last run this afternoon. We wanted to get kids into school. That became problematic because we're getting kids into the school after 10 a.m. this morning. Well, that's, and for the high school, that's a lot of time. And for elementary school, middle school, that's a lot of lost time. And then we're getting kids home at 6:30 in the evening. And that's not viable either. So we made every attempt possible to provide this as an alternative. Other districts never even tried this. We wanted to give it a try. Mr. Hibbert spent half the day yesterday and the entire day today working on this and worked with the combination and worked with the parents. And it just, if this is a 14-day thing that drivers are out, it's not sustainable. So unfortunately, it's not something we can continue. We really let parents know that. And if a driver goes out, if they can't rearrange that one and they don't have a sub, it's going to have to be that that run doesn't go, and parents will need to bring their kids to school on their own, or take home the remote learners. Problem with that is now I have pushback from the Teaching Association that we shouldn't be having students on remote learning. So it's balancing the needs of all, and I need to have continued conversations with the Teaching Association on what we can do to make sure that they feel comfortable with students that are home learning at the same time. It's one thing having 3 students that are quarantined. If you have 50 or 60 students or 70 students that are out for transportation issues, that also presents another logistic issue. I will say that I walked into elementary school classroom today, and not transportation wise, but because of quarantine, 5 students were in the classroom and 15 were on her computer that she was talking to remotely because they're on quarantine. And she was actively, thoroughly engaging the students in front of her physically and on the computer screen. So while we might have some teachers that are reluctant to engage teachers or students fully in remote learning in that capacity, we have other teachers that have gone full in that really are doing what they need for their students. And I just need to make sure that everybody that's participating in this, all teachers are feel comfortable with what we're asking them to do. So this conversation can continue and we'll continue to have. And the logistics with transportation is not something that's going to go away just after this next few days. It's something that we're going to have to work through the entire year. It's still continuing to be challenging.
At this point, how many students, approximately, how many students on that, sounds like 4 buses is this affecting?
Yeah, I can give you right now we have for tomorrow buses 6, 13, 20, and 21 are not getting to run. I did, during this board meeting, I sent out an email to the whole district families for expediency about 20 and 21. And earlier today, I was
20 to 21 families?
Bus is 20.
Oh, buses 20.
sorry, buses 6, 13,
20 and 21, right.
21
Right.
are the 4 that won't be
Gotcha.
able to run
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I am anticipating 6 and 13 not running all week and maybe next week. Don't know about 20 and 21. I could be just tomorrow. So,
We just got the information at the meeting.
just to give you just a quick, let me just pull up my spreadsheet. I have,
Choose back
I have a lot of
online.
spreadsheets. What's that?
Choose back online.
Tuesday, yes, sorry. Let's see, just looking at the buses 6 and 13 from earlier today. The vast majority of parents are able to get their kid, bring their kids in. I'm looking at, oh, there's a lot more since we started the meeting. But I had like about 8 that needed to be home. We'll calculate this up. I've already shared this spreadsheet with the principals, so they can let the teachers know. Bottom line, for us is that it's not like, someone missed a bus or doesn't feel well. This is a bus that we can't run. So if the parents can't get their kids to school, we're opening this up with the same type of home learning program that we would have given kids who were quarantined. And now, there may be options to limit the number of times we have to not run a bus. Once we get our manager back, we can say, well, these homes can get picked up by a different bus and this and that. We still happen to have that bus personnel and because he's sick to make those types of
We have
decisions.
a regional person.
So he's sick and unable to work from home.
Right, so we have a regional manager came into the depot yesterday to work on a lot of this data, trying to figure out what could be consolidated and moved around for us.
But what I'd like to see happen is that when we get our manager back, we have, say, bus 20 is out. He can say, well, this number of kids get picked up by
Right.
this bus. and this
Right.
gets picked by
Yeah,
that
you
bus.
can't do that.
Yes, we can.
Right. So I'm just trying to get a number. So that's eight
So-
families with 6 and 13, and then 20 and 21.
Yeah, I can give you an update tomorrow, Rob, so you guys have a general sense. This is based on our work for Wednesday. We have X number of kids that couldn't get to school by their parents or friends or their car.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I was going next. I mean,
There's things we can talk about, right now we don't offer a lot of changing of buses. but
No,
maybe we'll-
yeah, that's not a
maybe
good
we'll,
idea.
loosen some of that up.
I'm just saying, everyone's so vocal on Facebook. I mean, can't,
I think,
about everything. I mean, and I did see somebody say, hey, if your kid needs to get a ride to school, I can pick them up. Yeah, parents obviously are gonna be, we're we're a fairly small community. There's people that know each other. I mean, I just think that, I'm thinking about my neighborhood. If there was an issue in my neighborhood, I mean, there's about 25 homes. I mean, we would have cars that were parked at the bus stop, and we'd let our kids go in that car and they would take them to school. I mean, it just worries me that these kids are, because of something that's so out of, everything is out of their control, but, that they're gonna be missing school, and then it's upsetting the teachers. And I don't know if George Temple send one of his red alerts out and say, as a community, this is an emergency, and please, could you talk to the kids that are on your team and do this stuff and come together as a community and pull and get these kids to school? I mean, I'll give George a call. I don't know if that's a good idea, but
Yeah, even if he says exactly how you live, and then, I don't know.
Stephanie
if
for
he can
first
say-
selectman.
I don't know if he can say, drive your neighbor's kids, but The other
No,
one
just-
phrase that I think is
Yeah,
great.
contact your friends and your kids' friends and make
Right.
sure that everyone has a ride to school.
Just like helping out in a hurricane.
And it's much easier for parents to plan if they know it's the next 14 days of this happening. It's a little bit hard for them to make things if it's happening at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at
Of course,
night.
but,
I
I
mean, we
mean,
now know this is gonna be for an extended period of time. so
right,
you can-
I mean, this week probably.
Right.
Is there any way to work with soccer so parents need to drop off? or
Actually, I was gonna call them tomorrow. Oh, sorry. One of the parents had asked, hey, I'm willing to pay for like 2 weeks of soccer, so I can drop my child off, because I'm a high school teacher in the district, I can't, bring them down to Quaker Farm. So we're gonna see if we can work with soccer.
It was a
And their numbers are relatively low, and they have room to have more students.
And can we do something in the schools where we, maybe the paras come in early and we pay them, an hourly rate and they could watch children in the schools?
If we need to, we can do that.
Yeah, I
So we
mean,
have
I don't know,
administrators.
I
We're exploring all different options,
Yeah.
Administrators stayed late this afternoon, because kids needed to wait for their alternative buses to pick them up, we're doing what we need to do for the kids.
right, but I mean, the administrators need to stay, I mean, you stay late no matter, I mean, if you have a kid in crisis and staying late is, they're not on a time frame. So, administrators staying late doesn't really impact stuff. I mean, but if people who are either being paid hourly or, teachers have a beginning and an ending time, I mean, those are the people that,
I think that early
think
morning
that's a
time,
really
especially
good-
with parents from Quaker and Center School.
Those are both great ideas.
so, anyway, so are you gonna call George or do you want me to?
We can call.
Good, go ahead, Vic.
Obviously, other districts are facing the same thing,
Mhm.
and they must have a school bus franchise sort of contract. Is there anybody that can come up with a plan to handle this? Is it
Not across the state, not across the state, and right now what's happening is the State Department of Education is working hard with motor vehicles. And the state thinks that got to try and accelerate the length of time it takes to get full bus driver certified with license. Part of the issue is not enough drivers out there. So if they're able to accelerate getting people licenses, then they get more drivers on call and subs, and they can't, right now, it's about 4 to 6 months process to take the entire thing. So they need to go shorten the gap it takes to get people to work. And they recognize that, and state commissioners call this a crisis right now. And in Connecticut, public schools and superintendents, they're collecting data, CASBA, the association is collecting data. This is something statewide is becoming a challenge every time that we have superintendent meetings, it's what's happening with transportation. We've been lucky at this point that we haven't been impacted locally, but that ended this weekend.
So what about the National Guard?
That's
National
something
Guard,
the
did you
state-
say?
That's what the state would need to get involved in.
What's the government? Maybe I'm trying to be common.
Right.
We're in a situation, we're gonna have COVID for at least the next 20 years, okay? And obviously, not that we're next. So what are we doing to be on the government's part to get this solved? Because everybody's going, can't do this, can't do that, There's a lot of parents going to be very apprehensive about taking strange kids in the car with liability insurance and everything that goes with that. Okay, so there is a solution. We do have a National Guard that has 6,000 abortions in it. Let's get 3,000 of them to drive 3 buses.
That's
There's something wrong with what's going on here. This shouldn't be.
But that's not something I can take personally myself, that's something that state commissioner of education, the governor, and motor vehicles, they all need to work through and support us. They know that that's happened in other states, but they have not come with that plan to support us yet. They're telling us they're working on it.
Get Fabiola, get Earthbelt, get Temple off of their campaign trails and go down and do something for the freaking mountain.
That's, again, I mean, we're the Board of Education, but we can do that on our own to get light the fire under those people.
Do you have anything for-
Yeah. I just had a more of a question when these things pop up with the bus company. Do they have, and this is a technical question, do they have a territory software where they could just say, this bus is out and all of a sudden it automatically figures a couple extra stops on this one, a couple extra stops. I mean, they
There's
should
an app
have
for
it.
that.
It's not that sophisticated.
They don't have that.
And say there should be.
You know,
It's
It's
not that
developed.
sophisticated.
it exists.
Now, Joel's been months working on the routing for the year. So if they need to add a student or alter route, it's more than just a few minute. It's pretty expensive.
Don't you think with our technology, there should be,
They have it.
there should be a way to do
We don't
that?
have it. They don't have it.
So that's definitely updated.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for Dr. Mill?
I just wanted to, thank you guys for the updates that are going on to families. And I think, of course, to us, but I think more importantly, going home to families about the activities in the newsletters. And I think it's been huge, for great comments about it. So I really thank you guys for getting it running and up and getting it going.
Absolutely.
Right.
Great job.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I just want to thank you guys for doing all that work and stuff. And obviously, the bus thing is a hot topic, just like the masks were. We are beyond limited control, but not that I troll social media, that I touched on it before, but I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with this board. I also want to say thank you to the public for coming, contacting us, and being respectful the past few times in meetings. I think we're all in this together. We all need to come up with a solution together, and we're doing our best to do so. And with that said, you know, to add to some of the conversation, I want to say thank you to everybody for their full transparency, because a couple of years ago that didn't happen. So the spirit of this board to do what's best for the kids, represent the public, take care of our staff and teachers, and get through the past couple of years has been something new every month. And for this board to be able to walk and chew up and adapt to what we did, you know, I know we might have been a new board member a couple of months, but, you know, people need to realize that the state board of education really hamstrings, and it's taking a lot of power away from the local board of education. So we're limited in our power. And it's very frustrating. I think all of us have felt some sort of that frustration along the lines, but again, I think it's to put the feather in the cap for this group and this community to continue to do what's best for the kids and continue to move this district forward, even despite all these challenges. And everybody has a stake in that. I just want to say thanks again.
That's why we wanted a board.
Well, I have to say, Joe, that I've been watching this Board of Education for 17 years and watching how the various board members interact. And this is, in my estimation, of 17 years of watching and trying to contribute. I think Deb's probably been watching it longer. I do believe this is the best board that this district has ever had. We all have different strengths. We all listen to each other. We might not agree, but when we disagree, it forces us to look at another facet of things. And the addition of this new leadership, I think, makes it even better. So.
Yeah, all good stuff. In those trying times, so it's nice to hear. So without further ado, I hear, what do you read that motion, Deb? Sure. Oh, wait, report of chair, that's me. Sorry, go ahead, Robert. I do have one more thing.
And Nicole just tried to unmute herself again.
Oh,
So.
hopefully.
You just unmuted me, Rob. Thank you.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to make sure if I needed to that I could.
So I have just a very small thing in addition to my board goals, and it's actually to the board that I sent sample goals to you guys today that I just plucked out of, different districts. So I ask you to look at them and choose 3 that you would like the board to focus on, or if you find one of your own from another district, feel free to throw that in the mix. And then I'd like to form an ad hoc committee of whoever's interested, obviously less than 5 members. And then we'll flesh out the goals with objectives and then present it to the full board. So those are sent through email today. So I thank you in advance in helping me so that we can get our goals set by the end of this month is my goal. So then we can dovetail with the central office goals. So that's all and then my welcome, is my report. Now, Deb, you can do it.
Move the board enter into executive session to discuss, for the purpose of discussing preliminary draft correspondence and attorney-client privilege communication concerning the superintendent search previously provided to the service.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? No.
Okay.
Oppose or abstain? Motion carries. All right, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good
Yeah, the recording stops, but we'll hold them here.
Nicole, you can still hear? Nicole, can you still hear them? Nicole, are you still there?
I'm here.
Jackie does need to be
Oh,
Jackie, you probably should leave the meeting now,
Tell her I'll do the rest.
and, Deb will do the rest. Okay, she said, yeah,
she can hear.
yes, Jackie will be here.
Yeah, Anthony, if you don't mind closing the door, don't let the door hit you on your way.
I hear you.
Just say that.
Okay.
Because you're not recording.
So you'll let us know when we. come back.
Yeah, it's not gonna be long.
Okay.
Believe me. Mama's getting tired. Okay, guys, so really quickly, let me just give you an overview, and I do want to read something from Zach Sharon. So, you know, again, this has nothing to do with Jason, it has nothing to do with Robert. It has to do with, you know, that we hired a consultant, and then, you know, the consultant basically, you know, coached Jason after 2 years, and actually really only after maybe a year and a half, because we paid him for an extra 6 months to be his, you know, his mentor. So I said something to Zach Sharon and said, you know, gosh, that gets my goat, you know, is there anything we can do? And so we found Deb, my second detective in charge, found the contract, and the contract is very weak. And so, you know, lesson learned, if we ever enter into these contracts with, you know, not necessarily consultants to find a superintendent, hope not. But anyway, so Zach got back to me and he said, unfortunately, the contract doesn't have a non-coaching provision, so it is weak. I spoke to some colleagues about this and we're all shocked. The board hires him to find a super and he poached him 2 years later to go to another district. It's unbelievable and really unethical. There may be some legal options. Not sure it would be worth the time and money involved, but it's really awful. And just to let you know, Zach also gave me permission to share, you know, the attorney email that he had with me to share it with you guys. So now, once Rob got seated and Jason, you know, is in his new position, Zach's suggestion was for him to, he said, if I contact him right away, it'll get kind of into a lawyer conflict thing. He said, I can draft a letter from you that you would send to him, and but it would be CC'd to the attorney so that it would just, you know, have some meat, you know, on the bone. So, you know, I wanted to get your feelings on it, and you know, if it's something that we want to pursue, and if you don't, I'm fine with it too. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm ticked, but I'm only one person, so, you know, I wouldn't send it unless the whole, you know, unless the board was in the majority of wanting to do this. Do I think anything's gonna come of it? No. You know, but I don't know, because I think Ferrari's had a couple of bad placements. I mean, the reason he took Jason was because he placed a superintendent there that only lasted 10 months. So I also have a feeling that board said, you know what, dude, you're finding us another superintendent. We're not paying you again. So he, you know, went the path of least resistance, in my opinion, and, you know, just, you know, scooped Jason up. Now, and I don't blame Jason. He got an incredible increase, blah, blah, blah. So like I said, this is no reflection on Jason. It's truly just, you know, and to me, having an entire law firm that, you know, is an educational law firm, you know, to say that is a pretty crappy thing to do. So that's where we are.
What's the letter say, like, if you send it to all of it?
I guess the question is, what is the desired outcome? He's not gonna pay us a penny, he doesn't set the precedent for future districts.
I think we're gonna peel some skin.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna peel some skin. We're not gonna see $1, but it also, you know, it basically, if we were to badmouth them, we formally have, you know, so it's not like behind his back that we're besmirching his good character. We're to his face besmirching his good character. And then gives us the opportunity to potentially share the letter we gave to him to other districts, to other boards, so they know that, you know, burn the bridges. At least
Or get a
educate
better
people.
contract.
Yeah, or get a better contract, to be aware that this apparently can happen, and this, you know, entity does that kind of action.
So we keeping this as a private letter to him, something that's gonna be somehow buoyant out into the public.
It could be.
I mean, we have to be careful we don't cross the line too far.
Well, that's where the lawyer is drafting it, he's not gonna
Right.
put our neck on the line, but I think it's a good thing to
If
do
there's,
a little
if
skin.
he views it as a now trying to damage his business, right, that's what now. Right, we purposely did this, so we put it in public and ruin his business. That has implications, and as much as we're pissed off.
But if we do it in a professional, legal way, then we're covered. We're just honestly indicating, here are the facts that happened. Be forewarned, be aware, and you might tighten up your contracts if you do business with him or companies like his in the future.
Yeah, I don't have any intention of me just, but if somebody does find it in, you know, in FOI and it's FOIable, then like I said, I do think that we are covered legally. And
Are we claiming like damages? Is that? I guess that would be the
we're
question.
saying, we're just asking, in light of the foregoing, we respectfully request that you reimburse the Oxford Public Schools for the money extended to retain your services. And as you may imagine, our board is carefully weighing its legal options. So, yeah, and now even if he doesn't, and just so that you know, the total was over $16,000.
It's his laptop or something.
Oh. His laptop is, it's okay. I'm sorry, what?
This is a private meeting, gotta go.
Oh, it's only Nicole.
It's recorded.